You can learn a lot about a culture by what it dreams about. In America, we got this little thing called the American Dream. You may have heard of it. There is one man, one single person who doesn't just embody the American Dream. This motherfucker is the American Dream. Who is he? I'll let him tell you.
I'm the American Dream.
I'll bet you didn't see that coming, even though, well, I guess his name is in the title, so maybe you did. But what you aren't anticipating is how Eminem doesn't just represent the American Dream today. Eminem is the archetype of the American Dream. In all its callous glory, mountains of money, and very subtle suffering. He might be one of the most successful artists ever, and he seems like he hates it. Doesn't it feel like he complains a lot about being rich and famous for someone who got out of 8 Mile? Let's look at some examples. On his album Recovery, there's this theme of the rap game being an unfaithful woman. And by the end of the song, he says his life sentence is served and he's moving on. Which is ironic because, well, he didn't. They never do. He warns you to be careful of what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Be careful what you wish for, cause you just might get it.
Even as far back as 2000, he was complaining about it.
All of this controversy circles me, and it seems like the media immediately points a finger at me.
And it isn't just media attention he hates. There's even a not so subtle theme of animosity he has toward his own fans.
Leave me alone when you freaks see me out in the streets with a brand new CD for these fucking retards. Shady man, know to massacre the fans.
So, I feel like it's finally time for someone to take a step back and say, Em, are you okay, man? Because these lyrics do not sound like someone who has achieved their life's dreams. It sounds like someone who sacrificed everything for success. And success wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So yeah, this episode is going to be about Eminem and the American Dream and the history of the American Dream and how obscure sociological terms like cultural capital and habitus. Habitussy? We're going to talk about our grandparents. We're going to talk about The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Sparknotes. It's not that the American Dream is a nightmare. It's not even that it's an unattainable lie. There's so much hype, so much marketing, so much obsession with professional business cards.
Is that a gram? New card. What do you think?
Oh, very nice.
So come with me, your friendly neighborhood existential imbecile, as we explore money, mythology, Marshall Mathers, and much, much more. Chapter 1. The Gospel According to Henry. Eminem wasn't the first poor white boy from Michigan to make it big. A generation before him, there was another legend who rose from nothing. A man who didn't spit bars, but assembled them. His name? Henry Ford. Born in 1863 on a Michigan farm, dirt poor, just vibes, wrenches, and the unshakable belief that God loves you more if you clock in early. And yet, this man became one of the most powerful industrialists in the world. Founder of Ford Motor Company, godfather of the assembly line, literal architect of the 40-hour work week. He didn't just work the American dream, he built the American dream. I tried building a business one time, selling exercise equipment, but it didn't work out. Ford didn't inherit a monopoly. He didn't marry into money. He competed. In fact, he's often mythologized as the capitalist you wish billionaires actually were. You know, the one who made his money by pushing the industry forward, not by extracting value from the commons. If you can ignore that one time Ford opened fire on his own workers, he's kind of iconic. Boomers love this guy, not necessarily because they knew the details of his life, let's be real, they don't know shit, but because Henry Ford became a symbol of self-reliance, industrial innovation, and middle-class moral superiority. America, fuck yeah.
America, fuck yeah!
That's what the American dream was for them. Not just a story, it was a blueprint. Start your own business, build something, compete, win, and retire so you can die gracefully watching Fox News at the nursing home, like a winner. And no, it didn't matter that it wasn't likely for most people. What mattered was that it was possible. And that possibility, however remote, was the engine of American faith. Anyone can make it if they work hard enough.
It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
But then came the long, slow unraveling. Capitalism didn't stop at competition. It evolved like a Pokemon, but worse. From Fordism to neoliberalism. From Pikachu to Raichu. Like, what were they thinking when they made this thing? Just look at the whatever you call the economy that existed for our grandparents. Well, that shit's long gone. The days where you could land a management position with a firm handshake or own a home for a family of 5 on a single income? All gone. Damn, they had it good. The future is canceled, old man. The economy we have today has attracted a lot of interesting names, but I think neoliberalism is the most accurate. We don't need to over-define neoliberalism here. It's easy to get bogged down in boring academic jargon. Just think. Cut the social safety net, slash the public services, privatize everything. Let's let the market decide.
Capitalism, God's way of determining who is smart and who is poor.
Starting a business today is insanely risky. Like, ruin your life and die alone, addicted to drugs, risky. Because today, when your small business fails, you don't just lose your savings, you lose your housing, your health insurance, your dignity, any chance you might have of recovery, that's all gone. If you've ever known someone who took a chance to start their own business and it didn't work out, you probably know how bad it is. I know a few people who probably won't ever recover. This is why most people don't want to be Henry Ford anymore. They want the possibility of getting rich, but without the risk of losing everything. They want to lose themselves in their work so they can find themselves living the new American dream. Chapter 2. The Gospel According to Slim Shady. I have to come clean. There's something so embarrassing, so weird, so cringe I've done, I haven't told you about, and I just can't live this lie anymore. I'm a white man. Oh. It gets worse. So 8 Mile was super popular when I was in middle school, and basically every white guy wanted to be the next Eminem, myself included. I'm not ashamed to admit it, I was a stan. And for some strange reason, people thought it was really cool that I could rap Lose Yourself without reading the lyrics. I knew it by heart. So people would be like, yo, can you do this song? And I would rap it, and it's it was kind of weird. It sounds cringe now, and it is, but that's where the culture was at the time. I don't think it's possible to overstate how influential Eminem was in those early days.
Jim, I don't want the first thing that baby hears to be the 8 Mile soundtrack.
You show me a working class white dude from the early 2000s, and I'll show you another stan. I was not the only one. The whole idea of building your own business started to seem like some kind of backward dream of the past, like aspiring to become a medieval knight. Like who wants this? So Henry Ford was out. Eminem was in. And thank God for that, because I don't know if you know this. Henry Ford was also a casual Hitler apologist? Yeah. He joined a pro-Nazi movement to keep America out of World War II, the America First Committee. Interesting how that phrase has evolved. Ford literally got name-dropped in Mein Kampf, which is not the blurb you want on your auto industry titans biography. Well, maybe some auto industry titans do. As far as the American dream goes, the difference between Henry Ford and Eminem is really, really important. Sure, Eminem got rich, and anyone who aspires to be like him wants to also get rich. Yes, that is a factor. But the difference is how you get rich. Now, it's about making something that earns you more than just money, but respect. And what better way to do that than by creating culture? We kind of forgot this in the age of algorithmic social media, but culture is this beautiful, universal human experience that helps you navigate this crazy little thing called life. Whether it's literature or painting, or spooky internet stories about haunted game cartridges. Culture is how we survive the weirdness of being alive.
We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race.
And Eminem didn't just contribute to culture, he turned his very relatable pain into culture. He took everything ugly, raw, traumatic, and unacceptable about life, and he made it rhyme. He gave a generation of disaffected, downwardly mobile kids something Henry Ford never could: a vocabulary for despair, a swaggering middle finger, an angry anthem for surviving a world that clearly doesn't care if you make it, doesn't care if your daughter makes it. But let's be clear, Eminem's story isn't inspiring because he succeeded. It's inspiring because he shouldn't have. The world he grew up in wasn't one that fostered creativity or intellectual growth. It's hard to focus on being creative when your drug addict mother gambles the rent money on lottery tickets. Had he been born to an upper-class family, he probably never would have cared about rap. He probably would have been like a pianist or something. As in playing the piano. You know, the kind of skills you can only develop if you come from money, at least a little bit. And this is where we need to talk about a little thing called capital. Not capital in the sense of money, but in the sense of culture. Cultural capital. Pierre Bourdieu coined the term cultural capital to describe the things that can't be directly traded for money, but you kinda need money to get them, and they make you look cool as fuck. Playing the piano is a perfect example. It costs money to get a piano teacher. It costs money to get a piano. If you grow up in the no-go zone part of the city, you can't afford any of that shit. And that really sucks because sometimes you're secretly a creative genius that never gets a chance to do something creative. But cultural capital can be a lot more than doing something creative. It can be a degree from a university. It can be a license to practice medicine. It can be a second language. Cultural capital is really important for getting ahead in life. It's often the thing that determines whether people think you're credible, whether your taste is valid, whether you're allowed to belong in the room. Eminem, he didn't have any cultural capital. He didn't have the right voice, or the right clothes, or the right table manners. He didn't have a cousin at NYU, or a parent who knew someone at Rolling Stone. He wasn't even black. So he did what any good working class lunatic does. He kicked down the door and started screaming.
I am the one who knocks.
Eminem made himself undeniable. So good they couldn't ignore him. Because when the system is rigged against you, you've only got two options. Be undeniable or disappear. And somehow, miraculously, he didn't disappear. He became a multimillionaire. He became a household name. He became the literal personification of the American dream for a new generation. One that didn't want to build factories or win the Cold War. One that just wanted to get out of the hood and make culture, even if you have no cultural capital. At this point, a smart viewer like yourself might ask, Max, isn't this exactly what you're doing right now by making the Murphy monologues? And I would have to say, please stop. That's just too meta to put in the episode. Anyway, Henry Ford built the factory. Eminem burned it down. You and me? We're sitting in the ruins trying to turn the smoldering ashes into a podcast. Chapter 3. Influence me, Daddy. Eminem was ahead of his time. Way ahead. He didn't just win the rap game, he laid the psychological groundwork for an entire generation of creators. He didn't have TikTok. He didn't have YouTube. He had drama, a pen, and a microphone in a trailer park. And somehow, that was enough. What he figured out before the rest of us is that the American dream had changed. It wasn't about factories or franchises anymore. It wasn't about building something or managing something. It was about being something. Being someone. A persona, a brand, a story that people could follow. Eminem was the prototype for what would later be called an influencer. We don't want to launch a business anymore. We are the business. You, the individual, the self, as the startup. A few years ago, everyone kinda lost their mind when a Lego survey revealed that about 1/3 of kids wants to be, a YouTuber when they grow up. If you actually know any kids, you know the real number's probably a lot higher than 1/3. Guilty as charged. Normally, when people talk about this, they try to make it sound like the kids are silly for wanting to do this when they should be aspiring to be, like a lawyer or an astronaut or something. But here's the thing. I don't think this desire to be a creator is shallow. It's not just about getting famous and quitting your day job. Do you think Eminem had a chance at being a lawyer? Do you think I did? Do you? Eminem was living proof that you could take your pain, your poverty, your pathetic little life, and transform it into power, into content, into culture, into capital, maybe even cultural capital. Most rappers are obsessed with reminding you where they come from. Eminem is from Detroit. Kendrick Lamar is from Compton. Lil Wayne is from New Orleans. This is part of their personal mythology. Hey bro, look where I came from, and look where I got. It's not just a narcissistic ego flex, although that is a benefit. It's about being living proof that you can come from the most crippling kind of poverty and still do something with your life. That's the dream now. So when kids say they want to be YouTubers, what they're really saying is, I want to be someone who got out by creating things people actually care about.
I've got to formulate a plot or end up in jail or shot. Success is my only option. Failure's not.
They don't want to be Eminem the rapper. They want to be Eminem the exception. Because Eminem the rule probably did end up in jail or getting shot 20 years ago. But there's a very big problem with this. Eminem was a fluke, and we turned that fluke into a blueprint. Now, everyone thinks they're one mic and a ring light away from salvation. Look, you probably didn't grow up in 8 Mile, but you feel like you did. Because this isn't just about poverty anymore, it's about precarity. About knowing that your life is one missed paycheck away from collapsing. That homeless encampment in your city always got room for one more, and it's getting bigger every single day. But what happens when the whole getting rich and famous thing doesn't work out? When you give everything to the algorithm and it gives you nothing back. That's when the burnout starts. Once your sense of self becomes the product that you're selling, there's no longer a distinction between working and living. You become what philosopher Byung-Chul calls an achievement subject, a person who no longer needs a boss to be exploited because you're exploiting yourself. No one is forcing you to put every second of your free time into your side project. You do it all on your own. You don't need a big bad boss man cracking the whip. You don't need Henry Ford's goons standing there with a gun telling you to put the picket sign and get the fuck back to work. That's what your grandparents needed, those lazy lead-staring bastards. But you, my dude, you sacrifice your sleep with a smile because there's an ever so slim chance that you become the next Slim Shady.
I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady.
I mean, what's the alternative? Ending up like your dad? Well, my dad suffered every single day of his life and drank himself to an early grave. I'ma have to pass on that one. There wasn't any opportunity for social mobility in 8 Mile. That's why Eminem turned to rap. It was the only ticket out. The only fucking one, man. Eminem had his mic. I had a webcam and a half-dead Dell laptop. Different tools, same plan. Get the hell out. I was about 9 years old when I found out that you could make money by making videos on the internet. It changed everything. I went all in. I stopped hanging out with my friends, quit the football and wrestling team. Hell, I skipped school so damn much, they almost arrested my mom. And I didn't give a fuck. I couldn't articulate it at the time, but I instinctively knew that society put me on an assembly line that doesn't go nowhere. It's gonna take everything from you when the times are good and leave you behind to die when the going gets tough. I saw it happen to my dad, so my one mission in life was to not let that happen to me. Yeah, it's a raw deal. Yeah, you're probably not gonna make it. Yeah, there's a good chance that you spend every second of your life working on this shit and you never go anywhere. But look around. What other option is there? Really, what other option is there for people like us?
What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
So I hustled. 9 years old, busting my ass 16 hours a day every day I could to make more videos, to make better videos, to maybe get famous and escape this shithole. And that, my friend, is the difference between the American dream of our grandparents and the American dream we have today. Not the disciplined society, but what Byung-Chul called the burnout society. And the crazy part is, I did make it. Sort of. Not as some kind of prima donna social media influencer. Sadly, I'm not as creative or talented as I thought. But a few years ago, I gambled my life savings on a cryptocurrency, and I was one of the lucky ones who didn't get scammed. Bro, listen to this. $2,000 became 30. It wasn't retire forever money, but it was enough that I could take a year off work to teach myself how to code and maybe get a decent paying job in the tech industry. And by some fucking miracle I did not deserve, it worked.
I don't know. I never thought I'd get this far.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying joining the laptop class is the American dream for everyone. But it is if you come from poverty. And I don't mean, boo-hoo, I can't buy the latest iPhone poverty. I'm talking about eating cold, hard pasta out of the box poverty. You know if you know. I don't live in the bad part of Monroe anymore. I'm not an alcoholic like my dad was. I got more than just about every single person I grew up with. On paper, at least. I thought I got out. But here's the part they don't tell you. Money solves your money problems. Not anything else. So even if you get out physically, you might never get out spiritually. I never stopped feeling like a broke kid pretending to belong. And at this point, I don't think I ever will. And maybe, just maybe, I figured out why. Chapter 4. Mo money, mo problems. You've probably heard of The Great Gatsby. Maybe you skimmed the spark notes. Maybe you watched the movie. It's a story about a man named Jay Gatsby.
I'm Gatsby.
Who wasn't born rich, but worked himself half to death trying to join the upper class. He threw wild parties, wore expensive suits, bought a mansion across the water from the woman he loved. But it didn't matter, because deep down, Gatsby would never be one of them, one of the elites.
Is this some sort of peasant joke that I'm too rich to understand?
No matter how much money he made, how big his house was, or how cool his car looked, the dream would never love him back. He wasn't just chasing Daisy. He was chasing something everyone kinda needs. Belonging. Gatsby didn't fail because he was poor. The dude was rich as hell. No. He failed because he was never supposed to be rich. The reason he felt out of place was because of something French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, our good friend, would call habitus. Habitus is the internal baggage of the class you were born into. It's your instincts, your reflexes, your sense of what's normal. It's the reason Gatsby always felt like an outsider. And it's the same reason Eminem keeps writing songs about how much it sucks to be rich and famous. Even after Eminem made it, millions of albums sold, cultural icon status, he still raps like someone who doesn't belong in the room. Maybe he doesn't even want to be in the room. Because the room wasn't built for him. And I think he knows that. And Gatsby wasn't just a character, he was kind of an autobiography of Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald himself broke into high society by becoming a wildly successful author. But his life fell apart. Marriage problems, he drank a little too much, he never wrote another hit, at least not in his lifetime. You can achieve the American dream and still end up like a ghost inside of it. When you grow up poor, one of the most common mantras is fake it till you make it. It works. It worked for me, it can probably work for you. But here's the part no one tells you. You never stop faking it. You can take the man out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the man. They say that for a reason. You don't magically start feeling like you belong around all these rich white people with their trust funds and their vacation homes. You become fluent in a foreign language, but it never becomes your mother tongue. A few years ago, I got flown out on an all-expenses-paid corporate trip to a literal castle in Ireland. Everyone else was sipping apple teenies and partying like they were in some HBO show. Meanwhile, I was stealing the soap and toilet paper from the bathrooms. And I still have this disposable water bottle that I kept. It was just too fancy to throw away. I'll show it to you here. You know, I mean, just look at this. So bougie, so fancy. I can't throw this away. I gotta keep this. I got this on a bookcase upstairs, man. I worked my ass off to get here, but I still feel like I'm playing a character. A poor kid in a costume. But the worst part is, you don't fit in back home either. All my family and friends, full on white trash. I'm not ashamed to say it.
I'm a piece of fucking white trash, I'll say it proudly.
But now that I've moved up a little bit, they think I've gone soft, or worse, gone fake. I once got into a fight with my aunt, who accused me of getting special handouts. She really believed I was just given success. Oh boy, it just fell out of the sky and hit me on the head. It didn't happen like that. It was a little bit of luck, but it was a lot more hustle. But it doesn't matter. I'll never belong there again. That's what habitus does. It makes you feel like a fraud in the world you've entered and like a traitor in the world you left behind. Nobody up top will ever fully accept you, and nobody back home will ever believe you didn't sell out. So maybe the American dream is a lie, but not because it's impossible. Eminem is living proof. Fitzgerald was living proof. I'm living proof. But even if you make it, it's not gonna fix you. It won't erase your trauma. It won't quiet the voice in your head that says you're still faking it. It won't make your childhood go away. You can escape your habitat, but your habitus? That shit comes with you, wherever you go.